Good evening, everybody, and welcome to what is a very quiet, well, currently quiet, CLIA office on a Tuesday night for our first ever evening Facebook Live learning event. And we have chosen one of those big growth areas in cruising and in travel to talk about this evening. We've collected four experts four people who know a little bit about expedition cruising to talk to us about expedition cruising, the growth in the sector, the destinations. And actually, as it's a fairly new sector, we're also going to talk about what a day in the life is like for your customers. And expedition cruising is one of those areas that really has seen significant growth. Last year, 44% increase in the number of Brits going to expedition destinations. So lots to talk about. We'll take about 35 minutes to do that. So settle in, grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine. I can even say that at this time of evening. As we hear from four real experts in expedition cruising. And let's introduce our expert panel. We'll start right at the end. Evening, Johnny.
Good evening, Andy. Johnny Pete here from Celebrity Cruises. As you probably know, our main fleet are the big white ships, but today I'm here to talk about our small fleet of 3 in the Galapagos.
Smaller but beautifully designed.
Small, exquisitely designed. Yeah. Wonderful.
Thank you, Johnny, for joining us. Evening, Jack.
Hi everyone, my name's Jack. I work in the product department and as an expedition team member as part of Aurora Expeditions, which is an Australian-based expedition company, and we run trips to the Antarctic and the Arctic and everywhere in between as of next year on our brand new ship with Greg Mortimer. Looking forward to sharing some insights tonight.
Thank you very much indeed. And actually quite a new company to CLIA, as well as a new ship launched just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, we're really excited about this. Our new ship, Greg Mortimer, is caters for 120 passengers, and it's on its maiden season right now, right down in Antarctica. So it'll be really interesting to see. We're really excited to see what everyone thinks of it, and we're super excited to share it with the world.
Perfect, thank you. Talking about Antarctica and new ships, you have a new ship in Antarctica currently as well. So Joseph, good evening.
Hello Andy. Hello everybody. I'm Joseph Grimley from Scenic, Director of Sales UK. And yes, we have a brand new ship launched in August of this year, the Scenic Eclipse, the world's first discovery yacht. And she's currently just arrived in Antarctica to do her maiden Antarctica season.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Finally, evening Nabil.
Good evening Andy, good evening everyone. So I'm Nabil Maillard, I'm French, you already got that. So I represent Ponant as a sales and marketing manager for the UK. In terms of number of ships, we have quite an extensive fleet of 12 ships specialized in expedition, including our new hybrid cruise icebreaker called Le Commandant Charcot, going to be launched in 2021.
Called what?
Le Commandant Charcot. Sorry
Perfect.
for my
It's all right, at least
French.
you pronounced it correctly. But thank you. Now, before we start, I of course have got some questions for our panel this evening, but if you have any questions yourself, then there is a little box on Facebook somewhere underneath where you're watching this. Please share your questions, your thoughts, or any comments you have. And during the course of this evening, Toby will pass them to me surreptitiously, or probably not surreptitiously, and we'll get your questions to people as well. So send them in, and join the discussion. I should add, actually, like they do on ITV Player and things like that, you can only ask a question when we're live, so it's only this evening and only for the next 30 minutes. Good Lord, that's very complicated. So as I kind of mentioned at the beginning, there has been this rise in expedition, increase in the number of ships joining the sector, and really an awareness of expedition in a way that there hasn't been before. Why do you think that is, Johnny? Why? Because you've got 3 ships in Galapagos, for example, which is very much an expedition destination. So why the interest, do you think?
Yeah, to be honest with you, of late, I think for that particular region, we're very much running on the back of the David Attenborough effect. He's done some amazing documentaries, and it just seems to have put that destination at the top of the bucket list. We know it's a big wide world out there and people have a lot of choice. And I honestly think that realising that you can get onto those real isolated islands just didn't seem like a possibility. And now it absolutely is. I mean, there's a real breadth of choice to get to Galapagos, but I think, that David Attenborough effect has really put that particular destination right at the front of people's choices.
And is it therefore destinations that are just best served by a cruise holiday, do you think?
I think that with expedition, with Antarctica and the Arctic, it's not something you can do on your own. You know, you can't just take your other half or your family and just pitch up there and start climbing over the ice. So it provides just a really good way of seeing the destination, and you're there with an expert discovery team. So you've got people who are really passionate about the marine life, the wildlife, everything about the destination, who can really show it to you in a good way that you just can't do on your own.
I would echo the same sort of thing. We really see with expedition travel that it is a much more immersive way of getting into the environment, and that's kind of what this industry is all about. It's about making sure that you get to get up close and personal to nature. It's about making sure that you really get to visit these places which are off the grid, which are really remote and up until now have been very difficult to access. And we're really proud to do this, and Aurora has been kind of custodians of this. We've spent over 27 years pioneering an expert expedition team, a really rigorous program and really rigorous itineraries that kind of combine the best of really what the natural world has to offer.
On top of everything that my colleagues here said, I would say that it's also an evolution from basically the society, because everybody is looking for more experiential things. They have more access to beautiful pictures, to inspirational speech, and so on, just on going on their smartphones.
Yeah.
So basically the whole society is, in my opinion, getting in that direction, and expedition cruises is basically the best match to that need, to that new development. So yes, I think those are good reasons.
And actually, you're quite right, because people now we're told people collect less stuff now and actually collect experiences, and presumably you all offer incredible experiences. So tell us a bit about some of the experiences that you offer that makes these great holiday choices.
So in the Galapagos, we work very closely with the Ecuadorian government and the Galapagos National Parks. We've actually been there for 16 years, so we've really, kind of earned our place within the expedition area. But I think back to the earlier point around visiting these, you're probably going to go once in a lifetime to these places. You've really got to make sure that you maximise your time and you get the very, very most out of it. So it's spending that time with the locals, really. I really think it makes the difference. Our naturalists are so amazing at what they do. I cannot believe the amount of information that I was absorbing. They never got tired. Actually, the naturalists, they have a pretty good gig, really. They do 2 weeks on and they do 2 weeks off. So actually it means that they're really, really refreshed. Nice. You can either do a 7-night inner loop or a 7-night outer loop, depending on the islands that you want to see. Yeah. But they're just so eager and ready to go, and I think that makes all the difference.
And Jack, those onboard experts really does make a difference to the experience, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure. And really what we try to do at Aurora is bring in experts from across a range of fields who are specialized in that actual destination. So, for instance, we run trips to the Antarctic, and we'll get not only naturalists but historians, we'll get glaciologists, we get conservation experts who really come in and help us interpret the environment and really help to bring the place to life. Not only in looking at the locations and the sites, but also looking at the historical context and looking at all the kind of like historical artifacts and whaling stations, and also looking at the conservation side of things and making sure that passengers kind of come away with the sense of needing to become custodians of these places as well, that they feel like they are invested, and make you guys feel that you really appreciate Antarctica and want to make sure that it's preserved as much as possible.
And Johnny, staying with the Galapagos for a second, because we'll come to Antarctica and Arctic and those other places in a second. Do you find that most people go for the wildlife, or is it for the scenery, or is it for the history of the islands? What's the main driving factor?
I think it probably varies, but generally I think the wildlife is what people go for. Often when customers are asking for information on the Galapagos, a really good way to introduce it is to say, well, what has got you excited about the place?
Right.
And you might often find that it's a particular species that they've seen. So it might well be that it's really honed in on seeing the penguins, for example. It's the only place in the northern hemisphere that you can actually see penguins in the Galapagos. But any species that they're probably really honed in on something in particular that they want to look at. I think you were mentioning before about the preservation also.
Yeah.
What is absolutely come to the front of people's minds is leaving no mark.
Yeah.
So we all want to experience, but actually you want to do it in a really responsible way. So I think conversations actually at point of consideration are very much now about, okay, we've got a choice. We might want to travel with Celebrity Cruises, Aurora, but why should we? What are you doing to make sure that particular environment is well looked after and you're leaving the right impact, giving back, making sure that we're doing the right thing?
We'll come back to ships because that's a really good point around sustainability. But let's come back to that for a second. Let's stay in Antarctica. And Joseph, as you said, you've got a new ship down there at the moment. Firstly, a lot of people get nervous about travelling down to Antarctica through the famous Drake's Passage and the rough weathers, but presumably based on those new ships, that's now easier and more convenient.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the Drake Passage can be really, really rough or really clear. Apparently, I've not been myself. Jack was reliably informing me.
Yes, we'll speak to Jack in a second about his...
The Drake shake, as they call it, when the sea's really rough and the ship's moving around like crazy. Scenic Eclipse has been built especially to cope with that sort of thing. So she has double-sized stabilizers. So literally, you just don't feel the rough water. When I was on board, albeit not in Antarctica, but when I was on board in September, I looked out of my suite window and we're sailing. Didn't even notice. There's no vibrations. It's real state-of-the-art stuff on the ship. It's so technologically advanced, and it has this GPS dynamic positioning system as well. So we were talking about how we didn't want to damage the environment.
Yeah.
We don't have to drop anchor on Eclipse because it can just stay steady without having to do that.
And similar question to the one I asked Johnny around why people go to Antarctica. And with David Attenborough is obviously one, and people sharing photos and stuff. But is it for the wildlife, Antarctica, or is it the scenery? Because the photos that we see makes it look almost not of this world. It's that different.
I think all of the above.
Really?
Yeah. Well, as you say, David Attenborough's done wonders for Antarctica, and we've all seen the March of the Emperor Penguins, which is just one of those bucket list things. With Scenic Eclipse, we have 2 helicopters on board, so not only can you go out in the Zodiacs and watch the penguins from the sea looking over the ice, you can also go up in one of the helicopters, fly over and literally see the penguins marching. So it gets you really up close and personal. And
how difficult is it? Because you kind of made me think that from a travel agent perspective, with their knowledge is huge and vast of all destinations, all products, etc. But to understand the wildlife that they're going to see, that's another additional requirement or another additional skill. So how are they doing at understanding what the Antarctic experience is like?
I think it's up to us as cruise lines to educate agents, and we've got a really handy selling Eclipse guide, which gives you lots and lots of information. As I say, hands up, I've not been to Antarctica, but I know all this stuff because I've read the guides and I've looked at, you can go online now and just Google and find out so much information. Also, because now Scenic Eclipse is in Antarctica, we're getting these fantastic images coming back and videos. So, as a team, we're all really, really hungry to see, right, oh wow, look, there's Eclipse and there's penguins. So, go onto our trade Facebook pages and have a look because they're coming in every day and there's some fantastic images.
Cruising is obviously very different to the expedition cruise product. So Jack, I'll come back to you around what a day in the life is and talking very broadly, what's a day in the life?
Absolutely. So we kind of talk about this in terms of what's on board and then also what we go and have a look at on shore. So we try, a normal day kind of starts with a early wake up call, and after a pretty fulfilling breakfast, we aim to offer probably around 2 or 3 excursions per day, depending on the destination that we visit. Of course, these plans are really subject to change depending on ice conditions, depending on weather conditions, and just depending on making sure that passengers get the best experience possible. So often that'll include a wide variety of things to do each day. That might be Zodiac cruises, where you'll be up close and personal with a guide, and you go zooming around looking at icebergs and looking at wildlife, whether that be penguins or polar bears or seals or whales or any kind of a myriad of wildlife. Or you might go on shore excursions, which often involve you getting out and actually on the continent itself in specifics in relation to Antarctica. And you get to go on guided walks with our naturalist team and really get you up close and personal with wildlife and with nature. I guess we also offer a really wide variety of optional activities. So we have a large number of passengers who choose to take up things like polar snorkeling or polar scuba diving. We also offer snowshoeing and skiing. And so these experiences really complement our onshore product. When you come back onto the ship, it's really nice. Our new ship, Greg Mortimer, has been expertly designed in consultation with our expedition team to make sure that it's as comfortable as possible and still kind of stay true to like an ethos of expedition cruising. So we have a really nice big gym with wide, with floor-to-ceiling floor-to-ceiling windows, I should say. We have a beautiful library that has been designed with a collection of books that stretch from Antarctic novels through to seabird guides, where you can sit down and reflect and really get immersed in the region that you're visiting. And of course we have the bar, and I should also mention this beautiful lecture room, which is where our naturalists and our historians really bring the place to life and help to kind of complement what you're seeing ashore.
So it's early mornings, early starts often.
Early mornings.
So, and then activities during the day where you're out and exploring the destination, then back to the ship for lunch?
Absolutely. So you come back to the ship for lunch, often a quick siesta in the afternoon while we journey to our next port of call, next destination. Then you get back off again because we're all about getting you up close and personal with nature. That's kind of our ethos. And
then so you'll be busy in the afternoon and then presumably back on for dinner. You said port of call, but of course in many of these destinations there's no such thing as a port of call.
No, I should specify. No, absolutely. To your point, we should specify it. These are destinations, and so they're bays or they're different regions, they're different. So you get to see a whole lot of different aspects of Antarctica or the Arctic or any region in between the poles.
You also mentioned Zodiacs. For those people who maybe not know a great deal about expedition or indeed been on an expedition, we should explain what a Zodiac is.
Absolutely, absolutely. They're inflatable rubber boats that have been reinforced and allow us to get get passengers, I should say, up close and personal to these to icebergs, to glaciers, and then also onto shore. They're really, really versatile, and the ratio between between a guide and a number of passengers is about 1 to 10. So it really means that that passengers are able to get a really good insight into, on a cruise, for instance, to the region or the bay or the wildlife that we're looking at, and it means that you're able to get some amazing wildlife shots, of course.
And you have the same product in Galapagos, Johnny.
Yeah.
So then, do you need to be of a certain fitness level to get in and off the ship and onto Zodiacs? And is it tiring? And tell us a bit about the experience of being in a Zodiac for a while.
Yeah, I mean, actually now more than ever, they're state of the art. So the Zodiacs that we have are incredibly smooth. Actually, on the Celebrity Flora, our newest ship, that's how you embark the ship at the back of the marina. So all guests will arrive at the pier in Baltra. You take a very short journey onto Flora. So it's incredible. It is a strenuous trip. The Galapagos, it is going to be adventurous. There's absolutely no doubt about it. It will take, it can be strenuous, and we really want to make sure that everybody maximises their time on the island. Having said that, as part of our lecture programme, Flora holds 100 guests in total, so we're going to have people who can deal with different types of excursions. So we have an average of 3 options, and that will all be explained really clearly. I think that's probably how things work similarly on other ships also, to make sure that everybody has a really good understanding of what they're going to experience either that afternoon or the following morning. We want people to get maximum enjoyment.
Yeah.
So you might have a short hike, you might have a really long hike, and it's up to you to kind of work with our naturalists to choose what's best.
And do any of you get guests who don't take part in certain activities and days out or mornings out or trips out and stay on board and just relax?
Yes, actually, some days, if you just want to relax, so be it. So it's really
Sacrilege.
It's up to you. Well,
But up to the individual.
up
I
to
guess.
the individual, and as it was said before, you get to have a good understanding on what will be the next things on the next day. So you get to choose basically whatever you want.
So on the expedition trip I went on, there was very much a briefing the night before to say, tomorrow we're going to be here, here and here and da-da-da. Is
That's
that
it.
the same for you?
Exactly. So you have a good understanding of the excursions, the level of excursions, in terms of is it going to be tiring or stuff like this. But on top of that, we do have also good learning technique to teach you how to respect the culture. So sometimes when, for instance, we go with Ponant in Papua New Guinea, the local communities don't want to speak with you. That's it. That they just don't want, but they accept you to visit them.
Okay.
But that's their call. So we agreed with them before, obviously, when we did all the research and stuff like that. We agreed with them that nobody will talk with them, and we agreed that we'll teach that.
Really? I didn't know that.
So some specific things depending on really local communities. Sometimes it can be that local community and not the next one. So everything will be given to the guests so they feel comfortable, we feel comfortable, and also the local communities, when local communities are, feel comfortable. And I should add maybe
Go
on the day for you to know on expedition, at least in Ponant, but I'm pretty sure it's the same with you guys. You can be woken up by the captain if they see some polar bears, let's say in Spitsbergen at 2 a.m. or stuff like this, because actually this is what our clients pay for. So.
We've talked about zodiacs. Joseph, you've kind of gone one better with a helicopter, for example.
Sorry, 2 better. 2 helicopters.
2 helicopters. How does that... So what are they used for? Are they there just in case, or are they there really to be used every day?
They're used to basically widen the client's experience.
Okay.
I mean, as well as Expedition Scenic Eclipse, she's just been in the Caribbean. I sailed on her up the east coast of the USA. And it's an option. So we have your scenic excursions, so you can go kayaking, you can go out in the Zodiacs, you can do the land tours, or another option is go on a helicopter. So it could be a 20-minute flight over an iceberg, it could be a 40-minute flight to go and see some penguins or seals or whatnot.
So we've got drama music going on. Carry on, don't worry. Must excuse some of the sound effects we have in the CLIA office. Don't worry, it's fine.
That didn't happen in the rehearsal.
We didn't rehearse.
So yeah, the two helicopters are there really to enhance the customer's experience, because especially on expedition cruising, if you're going to Antarctica, as the guy said, it's not somewhere you're going to go to every year on holiday. It's probably a once in a lifetime. So it just enables you to make the most out of that experience. And also the submarines as well, because imagine you can see the penguins swimming and you can see the penguins on the ice, but imagine going down up to 300 meters in a state-of-the-art submarine and seeing the penguins swimming and the seals and the sea lions and whatnot. So yeah, it's got all the toys, but it's not just a toy for the sake of it. It is there to really make a difference.
Right.
I would say the same thing. We also offer up to 20 kayak spots on our trips to the Antarctic and the Arctic, and that's also a really nifty new way that passengers get to explore these regions with a really strong guide to passenger ratio to make sure that passengers are able to really get to see Antarctica or the Arctic in a really new kind of way, and gets you really up close to all these regions, to the wildlife and to the icebergs that we're looking at.
Let's talk about destinations. We've mentioned Galapagos, and you've been.
Yes.
How was it?
It was mind-blowing, amazing. There was nowhere else like it. You take it home with you. You feel so responsible.
Yeah.
What's interesting is the more that you see and the more that you actually realise that potentially the human impact has such a devastating effect on the area, you just come away thinking, right, what do I do now? How do we kind of make sure that we leave no mark and that we're absolutely doing our best to preserve these destinations? Because it could go one way or the other, we know that, and I think with the technology that everybody's introducing and just being so careful and responsible, I actually think cruising, well I know that cruising is the most responsible way to visit these destinations now. We have much less of an impact than land-based options, so I'm proud to work for a brand that are so purposeful.
Good. And when we think about Galapagos, we obviously think of the wildlife and some of those remote areas. Are there towns and cities that you visit as part of that voyage?
Yeah. So the islands vary greatly.
Sure they?
And actually, in basic terms, the greener islands are the older islands.
Okay.
And the new, I mean, we're talking 4 million years old here, but the newer islands are the ones that tend to be a lot more barren. But there are absolutely lively parts of the Galapagos. Santa Cruz, for example, there's a fantastic fish market that takes place daily. And believe it or not, the pelicans and the sea lions, they know it's an easy feed. So they kind of arrive. You can see all this on YouTube, it's incredible. And they'll literally wait for the fish market to finish and then they kind of take the scraps and the leftovers. It's such a great spectacle and the guests love it, they really do.
And growing in popularity, I know you're not the only operator that features Galapagos, but you actually hear people talking about Galapagos cruising in a way that we never did maybe 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely, I think so. I think it's just so on trend at the moment. And I mean, actually the number of visitors to the Galapagos doesn't change. You're very limited to have 100 footprints on an island at once. So they're very, very strict about making sure that we have such minimal impact. Which, you know what, that's a good thing.
Yes,
I think it's all about keeping the numbers right.
And your ship's about 100 guest-ish?
100 max, and that's actually in Galapagos the maximum you're allowed is 100. The ratio is similar, 1 to 10 for the Zodiacs. Second ship is 48 guests, and then we have a third which isn't really spoken about very much, which is a true catamaran, and that's just 16 passengers.
16?
16, yeah, 16.
Wow.
So that gives a real intimate experience, so that's fantastic.
Great.
Yeah.
We've talked about Antarctica a little bit. I know that we could talk about Antarctica for 30 minutes without...
Absolutely could.
But from a guest experience again, so the sailing is generally from Ushuaia down, so is that a couple of days across Drake's Passage? I don't know who knows. You're an expert on these things.
I mean, basically the main port is Ushuaia, which is at the tip of Terra del Fuego in South America. And so you'll fly in there and then you'll hop on one of our ships and then you'll head down to Antarctica. The other experience that Aurora offers, which is quite special, is that we offer a package which allows you to skip 1 or 2 legs of that, 1 or 2 sea crossings, I should say, and gets you right down into Antarctica by scenic flight over the Drake Passage, which allows you to skip any potential seasickness that might arise, and it means that you get more time down in the peninsula, which is really what it's all about.
But if you do go on the ship, it's a couple of days, is it, across Drake's Passage, and then presumably the itinerary then will vary based on weather.
Exactly, so it's about 2 days either side to get to the Antarctic Peninsula, about 2 days to get from the Antarctic Peninsula to South Georgia. If you do that, and I guess that, to your point, there's loads of things to do while you're on that crossing. Lots of onboard lectures. You can relax in our onboard jacuzzis. The bar, of course, is a very popular hub, and we also offer massage treatments and a fully equipped gym. And of course, our 6 outdoor dedicated areas for passengers to enjoy.
So we know Galapagos, we know Antarctica, we also know Arctic, and that's a very different experience to Antarctica. It's much different wildlife, etc. What happens? So Joseph, what happens to your ship in between? If it's doing Arctic in our summer and then Antarctica in their summer, what do you do with your beautiful ship?
Well, Scenic Eclipse was designed as a hybrid, so it's not just an expedition vessel; it's also a 6-star luxury ship as well.
Right.
So Currently, she's in Antarctica. At the end of the Antarctic season, she will be up in Buenos Aires. I'm going the wrong way for the camera. She'll go across from Buenos Aires
I need to think where you are
Lisbon,
now,
and then she goes Lisbon around to Barcelona, that way, and does a Med season.
Okay.
So she's in the Med. She does Greek islands, and then she'll go up and do the Baltics, go do the Norwegian fjords, go up to Spitsbergen. Around there, across to Reykjavik, Iceland, Greenland, then down do Alaska. So she does Alaska as well, and then down the west coast of America and
South America.
and then back around again.
Back.
So in answer to the question,
Everywhere. But how can you? I know you said she's not just an expedition ship; she's also a 6-star ship. So how can you? Or can you call that period of time when she's not in the polar regions, can you call that an expedition cruise still? Is there still elements of an expedition cruise to it?
That's a really good question. We would describe it more as a discovery cruise. So we don't have the full discovery expedition team on board, because there's a team of 16 people, from marine biologists to ornithologists, etc., and the expedition leaders. But certainly when she is in non-Arctic regions, shall we say, there's still an element on discovery, and there's still the onboard lectures every day by the experts, and there's still a team on board there that are going to point out all of the history and the wildlife, etc. So it's probably discovery rather than expedition when it's in the non-polar regions.
Non-polar regions, okay. And you have a few ships.
Yes, we do.
So where do you put them in the world?
Well, actually, we put them everywhere. So we have 12 ships specialized in expeditions. It can be obviously in the Arctic, in Antarctica. It can be geographic North Pole. That's a new thing. So with our Le Commandant Charcot. So we're touching new places where only few people have been. And to jump again on what you, Joseph, said. Yes, we do also offer other kind of expedition. The Kimberleys is a good example.
It's an amazing place.
So,
I was lucky enough
yes.
to have been there. But the Kimberley is great. But also expedition in Asia itself.
In Asia itself, we do have a lot of stuff, let's say in Papua New Guinea, in Polynesia, more Pacific, in all the islands, Micronesia Islands. It can be also going to Bali and so on. So basically those places, you really have to, get on a boat, get on a ship, and then you get to discover all that area quite easily, I would say.
And actually all the regions we've talked about, wildlife is really important. Reaching communities, I guess, that you may not have touched before. So there are those choices for people. If people have never done an expedition cruise before, I'm looking at all four of you, and you're all going to say your favourite destinations in a second, but where should a customer start if they haven't tried expedition before?
Well, if I can start,
Yes,
I would
do.
say that the polar regions will be a good pick if you definitely really looking for something different, something really that nobody experience on a daily basis. So if you really want something different, polar zones, Antarctica, the Arctic, Northwest Passage will be good.
And we've heard, or it's been said before, some CLIA events, is that if you're thinking of doing polar regions, it's best to start Arctic first and then Antarctica. Do you agree? Jack, do you agree?
It really depends what type of experience that you're looking for. In the Antarctic, it's a lot more easier to get on land. So if you're more interested in going on shore excursions and going for guided walks, because actually there isn't the threat of polar bears in the Antarctic per se, it's a lot more easier and it's a lot more accessible as well. So in terms of a more active trip, that might be the Antarctic. However, when you get to the Arctic and Greenland, Spitsbergen and Norway, you really see the most beautiful, magnificent glaciers probably anywhere on the planet. So if you're into zodiac cruising a little more, if you're into observing the scenery a lot more and going on maybe a little less guided walks, I'd suggest the Arctic is a good kind of intermediate trip for that one.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to go to some questions. Thank you to everyone who sent some questions in. Dan says he's a tutor for 16-year-olds at a college, so this is great knowledge support to help him with lesson planning and things like that. He also mentioned sustainable tourism. We kind of hinted at it. Presumably, new ships mean that they are even greener and more sustainable than others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Easy.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that everybody strives for, and you probably can't change a 10 or 20-year-old ship, but if you're designing a brand new ship for the regions and your aim is to be sustainable, you're going to make sure that it's the most advanced, low emissions engines and all that sort of thing. So definitely.
I'm going to stay with you, actually, Joseph, because Lydia says, with the helicopters, are they developed to be quieter than your average helicopter? She says she can't get her head around the noise of a helicopter in a location like Antarctica, but presumably they're very well designed.
They're Airbus state-of-the-art, brand new, top of the range, and they are quieter than a regular helicopter, definitely. And I can say that, hand on heart from watching them take off and land on the ship.
Good. And we talked about sustainable. I'm sorry I've then changed the subject, but that tied into your helicopters point. So things like single-use plastics, and I know we now expect that as an industry, but this is a big change even for the last couple of years, Johnny.
Yeah, so I mean, actually, single-use plastic now, it feels like just the bare minimum we should all be doing. I think every ship is just so well thought out now. The new ships especially are just incredible. We actually even recycle our air conditioning water. We use reverse osmosis to sort of make sure the water's all recycled. It's very, very cleverly done. All of the food should be sustainable just by nature of where you are. We just need to make sure that the fuel consumption is as low as possible, using all the very latest technology as we mentioned before, making sure the noise is kept to a minimum as well. The propellers that we use are...
You forgot the word for it.
Did you see what I did there?
You did.
So, this is a propeller. And they were actually designed using our larger ships in Alaska, and they made sure that using this new state-of-the-art technology that we weren't disturbing the whales over in Alaska, and it's incredible.
But just very briefly with the yes or no, presumably you've got more information about the work you're doing on sustainability on your websites and things like that.
Absolutely.
Yes. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just conscious of the time. I'm going to stay with Johnny. A very cheeky question, I think, which is, what percentage capacity does Celebrity Flora usually operate at? And if it's not full, will there be some travel agent deals coming?
Wow. I'm not the guy to sort of agree the deals,
but
she's selling very well actually. We've had a great exposure. It's only 100 guests. She's selling brilliantly, but of course, if there are any opportunities, we'll be letting you know.
Perfect. Just again, very briefly, I'm very conscious of time. We've probably got 2 minutes left, but in terms of the nationality of the guests that you have on board, presumably they're sourced from all global markets.
Yeah, all over the world. We have a large variety of people come from Australia, come from England, UK, and come from the States. But we're also seeing increasingly more more passengers coming in from all around the globe. So it really is a expedition for all nationalities.
And they're so like-minded as well. That's the thing. They're all interested in that particular spot. Then they're all going to have a vested interest in being there for the right reasons. I think that really makes a difference.
Presumably, you have a few more guests from France.
Well, we used to have a lot of people from France. We still do, but definitely we have way more people now from Australia, the US, UK. So basically, it's fully bilingual, and we have a really good balance now.
Good balance of nationalities.
Yes.
And actually, one of the things I noticed from when I did an expedition cruise in the Kimberley was how everyone came together at dinner and shared their stories from the day, because actually even though you're in the same place, your experiences during the day can be very different.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. A key part of Aurora is developing a family feel on board. We are crucially invested in making sure that that's the case and everyone becomes part of a team. We're all anxious to get outside and explore the environment. So yeah, it is really a family feel.
Perfect. In one sentence, can you tell us what's next in terms of expedition, or what's coming up in 2020 in expedition for your different brands? While they're thinking about what that answer is, I think we've had one more question, which is lovely. I see glasses on. So do any of you do sailings around the Scottish Islands, or is it not something that you do?
We will be doing in 2021. Scenic Eclipse will be going around the UK.
Okay, cool.
And we do as well. We offer a trip
Yes.
that starts in Oban, up in the Hebrides, and then goes round and finishes in Aberdeen.
Perfect. Okay, let's a quick 30 seconds on what's next or what's coming up in 2020 for your expedition product.
You know what? I think we're so not very well known in this space at all. We're much better known for the kind of wider
Sure.
cruise. So I think really it's up to you guys to shout about how incredible our fleet of ships are. There is loads more information available on our website, loads of reference material to help out with the wildlife. When's best to travel? When's best to get the right weather? So check it all out and just stick us in your consideration pot.
Thank you very much.
More destinations. So Aurora's offering our first ever trips to Costa Rica and the Panama Canal, down the Patagonian fjords, and up to East Greenland and into East Canada as well. And so these are, and doing a trip that circumnavigates Iceland. So these are new destinations for us, ones that we're really excited about. And I can tell you as part of the expedition team that we can't wait to get there.
Perfect, thank you.
2020 will see the Scenic Eclipse 2 go on sale with some exciting new itineraries, and she will be launching and sailing in 2022.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
And for us, I should say that we have obviously Le Commandant Charcot. We do also have a new partnership, not new now, but a partnership with National Geographic. So great added value to expedition discoveries. And keep an eye on our website. More than 500 ports, more than 100 countries. So you get to answer.
Plenty of choice.
Exactly.
Thank you to all four of you. Thank you for giving up your evening. Thank you for watching. I should say that if you want to really get under the skin of expedition cruising, we have our second expedition forum happening somewhere in the UK, with more details to be shared later, and that's happening on the 5th of March. I know that's a long way away yet, but there's stuff happening in a couple of weeks, like Christmas and things like that. So 5th of March for our expedition, our second expedition event. But thank you to our panel. Thank you for giving up your evening. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again very soon. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.